And welcome back to Pewter Power. I'm here with Brett Newsom. Joe Bell is on vacation. He is in Michigan. But you know what? Joe has actually decided to call in and talk to us about it, Brett. And we're going to talk about a game that we don't really like to talk about, 48-3 loss against the San Francisco 49ers and Alex Smith and Frank Gore, who just completely demolished us. But Joe, are you there?
Oh, I'm here live in Detroit, Michigan.
You're live, all right. Well, what do we got going now, Joe? What do you think happened there? I'm going to give you the whole ball of wax here. What do you want to do? What are you thinking about this game?
What do I think happened? Well, personally, I think they might have missed the plane heading to San Francisco. I don't know who that was. That was a high school team or maybe Valdosta State, something like that. I don't know. It certainly didn't seem like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers we know and love. But, you know, when you have a young team, the youngest team in the NFL, you're going to have weeks where they just look horrible, and you're going to have weeks where they look like they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Brett and I were talking about that earlier. They have like 3 strikes they have against them when they go to the West Coast, whether it's cold, and they had a Monday Night Football game, or the West Coast. They had 2 of those 3 in there.
The sad thing for Tampa Bay is we're running into the meat of the schedule for this team, you know, and they took a trouncing 48-3 by San Francisco, who had over 400 yards of offense, you know, and their rushing game was incredible against Tampa, which is in part because of Gerald McCoy going out in like the second series of the game, out for the rest of the game, and you can tell really quickly that this team needs him in the center of that defensive line. You know, you'll hear people say maybe he hasn't done that well so far since he was drafted #1 last year, but I guess this game shows maybe they need him a little more than people want to think.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just the defensive, though. It was the offense and the special teams and the coach. I mean, everybody kind of...
Everybody was guilty.
Yeah,
and,
pretty much.
I think the bad thing about it is right now you hear them say, well, we lost to Detroit. They're a good team. We lost to San Francisco. They're better than we thought. Well, the Bucs are supposed to be a team that can make the playoffs, and now they're losing to these teams that probably are going to make the playoffs. San Francisco, the best team in the West. Detroit, the best team in the North. You saw that last night, Joe.
Yep.
You know, there's not a lot of playoff spots available. If this team wants to make the playoffs, they're probably going to have to do it as a wild card. I don't think they're good enough to beat the Saints to win the division.
This was supposed to be a litmus test for a good team to be a good team and to have a good game with it, and they didn't show up. In fact,
I'm telling you, that test is going to come over the next 4 or 5 weeks. My goodness, they play Green Bay, they play New Orleans twice, they play Houston. So they're playing all teams with winning records that have played very well so far in the season. So we knew they were going to have to win early because the meat of the schedule for them here in the middle was going to be very difficult for them to come out with a winning record middle of the season in the second and third quarter of the season.
Well, we still got, Raheem Morris kind of said that flat start, flat finish, flat middle, flat everything. Pretty much across the board, just a bad game, so they're going to wipe it away and kind of erase it. But you're talking about the penalties still there, 9 for 96 yards. I mean, that's every game so far has been over 100 yards in penalties.
I think the other concern, you got penalties and you got slow starts.
Yes.
That, to me, I don't know if you guys think about it, that's usually poor coaching, not people paying attention during the week. I mean, we've seen it, 4 of the first 5 weeks, they've had really bad first quarters, gotten down. Josh Freeman has already thrown as many interceptions this year as he did all of last year.
Correct.
Not a good sign. So we'll see if this team keeps taking steps forward. But so far, I think they took about 3 back on Sunday.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I think they may have taken a couple feet back.
Well,
that was pretty bad overall. You know, and they haven't really played any great teams yet. You know, the teams that were defense they played, they lost to. So here we go. You know, Detroit's done the same thing. You know, they're 5-0, but they've won in the second half. You know, on the Monday night game, they were down early. They actually half of their entire offensive side of the ball was on 2 or 3 plays. So, you know, they're another quick strike team that just scores late in the game to win. But they haven't played anybody yet either. So we're going to find out on both sides of this. You know, Chicago is a 2-3 team, not a 4-1 team.
Well, that's the question I have with the Bucs. If you think about their season, what's the best win they've had? I think everyone say it's home against Atlanta.
Right.
Well, look at Atlanta right now, 2-3.
And it's not winning either.
They blew a game against Green Bay that they should have won. They got beat up at Chicago in Week 1. So how good is Atlanta? And that is the Bucs' signature win of the season so far.
That's right.
I mean, beating Curtis Painter. I mean, that's not, you know, everybody's doing that, right?
Exactly. Well,
yeah, and they barely beat Curtis Painter. That's what scares me even more.
Yeah, Drew Brees is not Curtis Painter.
No, he's slightly.
I would say no.
I think they went to the same school, did they not?
I think so,
I think they're both Purdue alums, but yeah, there's a difference in talent level right there, and Super Bowl rings too, I think.
Definitely. Well, let's go back. We were talking about defensively, okay? They gashed it. 49ers gashed us for like 227 yards. Okay, Alex Smith throws 3 TDs, only 170 yards passing. But what are we going to do here? Because to me, the run defense was our stalwart right now. The first 3 or 4 games, we had him down. Michael Turner, 39 yards rushing. What is going on here, besides McCoy?
They're absolutely going to have to find a way to stop the run. That's going to be their biggest problem over the next week, especially if Gerald McCoy does not come back. And it's looking like he may not be back till later in the season. High ankle sprains are hard to come back from very quickly. And, they got to find a way. They had over 200 yards rushing, San Francisco did, against Tampa. And we haven't seen that since last year. They've stopped everybody else this year, but so far that first game is a little bit of a telltale. It looks like they're going to move Bowers maybe into the middle a little bit with Ocam to try and make up for McCoy being out. But I don't know that that's going to be enough to replace a player that's that good in the middle.
I think the good news this week is, though, they're probably not going to get the run test that they've had the last couple weeks because the Saints, by and large, are a passing team.
Right.
Short yardage running, you'll get to see Mark Ingram a little bit, but they're going to throw the ball. They're going to test the secondary, even though I think we've seen, you guys will agree, the last couple weeks, even the Colts, there's been a blueprint of running the ball early against the Buccaneers, kind of wearing them out, and I think Joe was right.
Yeah.
The depth is not very good right now, especially on the defensive line. And if teams want to start running the ball, there's a blueprint the last couple weeks we've seen that teams have been able to run the ball successfully, and average quarterbacks have been looking very good.
Yeah, and I want to throw this out too. Special teams looked abysmal too. And you're looking at Michael Keaton, who was our actually MVP for the first 4 games. He averaged netted 37 yards. So it was a complete downfall.
Probably tired.
Parts.
Too many punts. He's just tired.
He actually did. His punting average was like 48 or 49 yards, but the return team was horrible at stopping them. They allowed them to move the ball at will once they got the ball on the punt returns.
Well, Joe, we got about 30 seconds left. I want to throw one thing out there. Raheem Morris, the first time he's been penalized this year, unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards. Kind of saw that right there. That was a reflection of the whole team right there, the frustration. So we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the New Orleans Saints. I'm sure you got a lot of information, Joe, for the New Orleans Saints, and I know Brett has an opinion on that 1 or 2 times, too. So we'll be right back after this, and stay tuned. New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees is going to be looking for it.